Hello, I am delighted to welcome all children and families back to full-time education at St Columba's Junior School. For some, this is the first term in this school, and for others, this is their first ever term in Junior 1 or early years. It's a very exciting time for many children, but I also know that returning to school after 5 months will no doubt be accompanied by some anxiety for children as well as for parents and for the staff. The aim of this presentation is to inform pupils and parents about the measures in place to try to make sure that our school is as safe as it possibly can be for everyone at this time. Our main priorities in the early weeks of the return to school will be ensuring safety and the welfare and well-being of the whole entire community. We cannot deny that COVID-19 has brought different challenges for all of us, and it's impacted us all in a very different way. Our staff are trained to support children and to identify those who need additional support, whether that's academic study support or pastoral care support. The scientific advice that we have at the moment says that physical distance between children in the primary setting is not required. We're still encouraging, however, the children to maintain a sensible distance from one another where possible, particularly indoors, and to avoid touching, hugging or crowding together. This is quite tricky for our younger children, so we will be helping them with the set-out of our classrooms. Desks will not directly face one another, for example. And we will also zone the playground to allow year groups to mix, but discouraging mixing across year groups. Where possible, we will be using our outdoor spaces. Outdoor education has been a focus for the junior school for a while, and we have plans in place for activities that make the most of our grounds. Over the coming weeks, this will be a priority. With the exception of PE and drama, the children will remain in their classrooms with the teachers of French, music and art moving to the children rather than the other way around. Measures to minimise risk will be taken where children are moving to PE, drama or for breaks, such as a one-way system and encouraging good hand hygiene. Staff must maintain a 2-metre distance between themselves and children and also between themselves and other adults. Where this is not possible for longer than 15 minutes, staff are asked to wear face coverings. Assemblies will not be possible as we continue to follow government recommendation regarding large group events. The children need not fear, however, as I will endeavour to hold a remote assembly once a week. As explained previously, in order to facilitate regular washing and remove the need for changing rooms to be available, pupils are asked to attend school wearing a white polo shirt, blue Canterbury style joggers, and their PE fleece are waterproof. Trainers should be worn. As per my communication in June, to help with the financial burden of this, plain white polo shirts and plain traditional style joggers in either black or bottle green are acceptable. Classroom doors and windows will be kept open as much as possible, and I strongly encourage children to wear the tracksuit top to ensure they stay warm enough each day. Either the jumper that goes with the infant tracksuit or the school fleece would be perfectly acceptable. Waterproof trousers would also be useful due to the additional outdoor experiences we're hoping to offer, and I would encourage you to consider supplying your child with a set. They can also be worn at break times if the weather is inclement to minimise any need to change if a child falls. The government guidelines state that face coverings should not be required for most children unless they've been clinically advised to wear a covering. Should you wish your child to wear a face covering, however, that is entirely your choice and you're welcome to do so. PPE is not normally required for staff except where they come into contact with blood and body fluids. Relevant staff will be trained in the use of PPE by our school nurse prior to their return to school. Teachers may choose to wear masks or visors, particularly due to the close proximity that can be required in a primary classroom to support children. Children should bring their own pencil case and stationery to school, including a ruler, a razor and a sharpener. Coloured pencils would also be advisable. I would also suggest supplying your child with 3 HB pencils. We are discouraging sharing of class resources, but we will support your child should they forget their equipment or if they don't have anything that they need on that day. Any resources we give out will be wiped down before and after use with antibacterial wipes. Children need to bring with them on every day a packed lunch and a full water bottle. We have been advised that our water fountains cannot be used. Packed lunches will be eaten in classrooms with supervision by staff members. May I remind you that all packed lunches should be nut-free. We recommend that children bring their own alcohol-based hand sanitizer with a minimum of 60% alcohol in that. It allows the children to use it regularly throughout the day. There are hand sanitising units throughout the school, but a personal supply that's readily available before and after touching any surface is recommended. Children should also bring with them a packet of tissues. Please be aware that in order to avoid crowding in small areas, there are no cloakroom spaces. There will be shoe boxes provided outside classrooms and outdoor areas where possible for play shoes to be stored. The children will be shown where everything is on their first day. Junior 1 and 2 have designated indoor areas for shoes to be changed. Because we will be making use of our grounds, wellies and our play shoes are as important as everything else, please, and they must be named. And a particular plea for the children to bring with them some sort of personal reader, what we would normally call a library book. Libraries are not an option for us at the moment, so for the older children particularly, to have a book with them that they can read throughout the day when there is personal reading time would be highly advisable, and we appreciate your support with this. I'm now going to take you through a typical school day, beginning with transport. School buses can now operate as normal with no social distancing required, and face coverings are not mandatory. Children who travel in school buses are asked to wash and sanitize their hands before entering the bus and on arrival at their destination, to sit on the same seats for each journey, to leave the seats immediately behind the driver free, and there must be absolutely no eating on the buses whatsoever. For the return journey, we've created separate waiting areas for each bus so that pupils can be kept apart whilst waiting. Mrs. Corbett will be supervising the bus queues and ensuring that the children are reminded of the rules before embarking on their journey. Children who live locally are encouraged to walk and cycle to school as much as possible to avoid congestion around our buildings. We've asked staff not to park in the school grounds in order to create more social safe waiting spaces for parents. This means that there will be more staff parking around the school. We respectfully request that parents who drop their children off at school do not park at the school gates, and we strongly encourage you to drop off and collect your children in a more central location in the village. Those of you who know me know that parking around the school site is a perennial problem and a personal bugbear. It requires all of us to take responsibility for this to ensure not only the safety of our children, but the health of our community. Please use common sense when parking. Please be aware, however, that car sharing with children from different households is discouraged. Parents are asked not to gather at the school gates. We're using both the back and front gates for collection and drop-off. A line will be painted on the front playground, which should not be crossed at these times. No cars will be allowed in the back car park, including staff cars, and the space only used for school minibuses. There will therefore be plenty of room for parents to wait for children at the end of the day or for the gate to open in the morning. If you would normally drop your child off early between 8:15 a.m. and 8:30 a.m, your child should enter via the main school gate and wait in the area beyond the white line closest to the school. This area will be supervised as usual from 8:15 a.m. It is only for children, however, and adults cannot stand in that area. We've also been advised that parents should not come to school unless it's absolutely necessary or for a previously arranged meeting. Unfortunately, any opportunities that we would normally offer for parent helpers in class cannot be given at this time. This also means that if your child is late for school, you should escort them to the main reception, press the buzzer, and await a member of staff coming to open the door for you. Only your child may enter the school building. The member of staff will ask you to confirm the name of the person dropping off and the reason for the late arrival. We must record this as a matter of statute. We have also staggered the drop-off and pick-up times for all pupils. This allows, I hope, for crowding to be reduced and for those of you who may need to walk between entrances to manage this with your children. I would encourage any older children, J4 to 6, to begin moving towards independence. Perhaps you can leave them at a corner nearby and watch them walk safely to school, or perhaps as you wait at one gate they can walk to the other around the school walls independently. Given the restrictions, it would be useful to make this a learning and developmental opportunity, of which I am never one to miss. We realise that this may be challenging if you have more than one child. Without some plan of where children can come into school, it would end up far too busy with too many adults and children in one area. I appreciate your help and support with these plans, which of course will be reviewed as we go to assess effectiveness. Once the children are through the school gates, they should go to their classrooms using the routes that will be explained to them by their class teachers on the first day. Junior 1 and 2 will be collected by a member of staff at the back gate and escorted into the building. Juniors 3 to 6 should head directly to their classrooms. All children will be asked to sanitise their hands before entering the classrooms. Bags and coats will be stored in areas allocated within the classroom spaces. As with late arrivals, any child who needs to be collected early must be collected from the main door at reception. A member of reception staff will escort your child to the main door and hand over to the adult waiting. Because we value the safety of all our children, you will be asked for your child's safe word when collecting early. This ensures that your child is kept safe at all times. For those of you who are not sure what a safe word is, it's a word that you will allocate at the beginning of term that only you and the school will know, and we will ask you for this word when you phone to change arrangements at the end of the day. All early collections must be communicated prior to the time, and a reason must be given for this. Reception staff will sign your child out of school on your behalf. We have staggered the times at which the children will be dismissed. This is to alleviate, once again, any overcrowding at gates. Some year groups will be dismissed 5 or 10 minutes earlier than normal. This does not reduce teaching time, which is clawed back elsewhere in the day, in many cases with the lunch break being a little shorter to allow for this. The pick-up collection may be different from the drop-off one. Once again, I would encourage independence for our older children, and you may choose to wait for them further along the street. All the children are reminded to return to school if the is not the agreed space. Mr. Mackay, Deputy Head, and I will be on duty at each gate to ensure the safety of the children leaving school. As always, any child who is not collected as expected will be taken to reception to wait on you. Please buzz the main reception door and your child will be handed over to you. Children who are using the buses will be escorted to them by Mrs. Corbett. As previously mentioned, bags and coats will be kept in classrooms. To minimise the amount of stuff, please ensure your child only has what is needed in their bags: a pencil case, a lunchbox, a water bottle and a homework folder, perhaps also a pair of waterproof trousers rolled up at the bottom of the bag. No PE kit beyond a pair of clean shoes for the games hall when it's in use will be required, as much as possible will take place outside. Cloakrooms are out of use. They will be part of our one-way route to the toilets, but they will not be used for storing coats or jackets or bags. The number of children allowed out of class to go to the toilet will be strictly controlled, with no more than one child out at a time. Break times should be used for toileting where possible. A strict limit of 4 children in the toilets, 4 in each male and female toilets, at any one time will be allowed, with social distance queue supervised during break times. There will be a subject-specific approach to those subjects that cannot take place inside the classroom. PE plan to make as much use of the outdoors as possible. There is new guidance regarding PE from the Scottish Government and the department will be following this. No large shared equipment will be used and any smaller equipment will be wiped down between classes. The PE department is discussing alternative wet weather activities which are permitted by the guidelines. Drama will take place in Livingston Hall, which is large enough to ensure distancing. Children will be expected to sanitise their hands before and after this lesson. Due to the restrictions on aerosol emissions, such as loud voices, singing, shouting and stage expressions, etc., drama lessons will be much quieter than usual. All other specialists will come to the children in their classroom. This will minimise the movement around the school. Singing in choirs cannot take place at this time, so music is likely to be more practical in its nature. As with PE, any equipment used will be cleaned down between classes. Because of the aerosols emitted, Singing, wind and brass playing are not allowed until safe guidelines are available. All children will require a packed lunch, which will be eaten in the classroom supervised by members of staff. May I remind you again that these packed lunches should be free of nuts. Once the children are finished, they will be able to enjoy some time outside playing as usual in their designated zone for their year group for the day. Play zones will also be supervised by staff. We hope to be able to offer some extracurricular activities. It's hoped that after school rugby on a Wednesday can continue for Junior 6, and we will confirm this in due course. We also hope to have a small selection of lunchtime clubs on offer for J4 to J6. This will have to be year group specific to minimise the movement of children and the multiple use of spaces. Further details will be released in late August about the options that may be available here. As soon as the government allows us to do so, we will offer a fuller programme as usual here. Additional cleaning measures will be in place each and every day to enhance our safety measures. We're working with our cleaning contractor to ensure that there is additional cleaning throughout the day instead of just a single clean at the end of the day. Our housekeeper will also be cleaning door handles, keypads, banisters and bathrooms throughout the whole day. Children and staff will be expected to clean their workstation and any equipment they touch, such as and including laptops, and wipes will be provided in each classroom for this purpose. Our key worker service children proved that this was an easy thing for children to do and quickly got into this routine. Any shared resources or equipment will be sanitised before and after use. As far as possible, textbooks will be allocated to individual children and identified as theirs for the duration of the session. Where shared textbooks are required, these will be sanitised between use. Desks and other spaces used by children will be cleaned thoroughly at the end of every school day. Classrooms will be set up with all children facing forward and no child facing into another child's face. Children may sit together as long as they are facing roughly the same direction. Group work can happen as children do not require to distance, but we will be encouraging them to work together sensibly and considerately to each other's space. Desks will be wiped down if another child requires to use a different desk than normal during group work. Classrooms will be well ventilated with windows and doors open wherever possible to allow air to circulate around the buildings. To reduce congestion in bathrooms, pupils will be allowed to leave lessons to go to the toilet when necessary. The importance of COVID-secure personal hygiene will be emphasised. Hand washing should take place for about 20 seconds of washing and drying thoroughly afterwards. It should be done after using transport, when entering and leaving buildings, and after using the toilet. We'll be encouraging the children to avoid touching mouths, noses and eyes, particularly their own, and we'll ask them to use a tissue for when they're coughing or sneezing, and they should be binning it afterwards using the catchphrase of catch it, bin it to kill it. Any non-fire doors will be propped open to avoid touching of handles, which hopefully will allow the one-way system to flow freely as well. We have carried out a full risk assessment and it will be validated by our health and safety advisors before the beginning of term. As soon as it has been validated, it will be shared with parents on Firefly, which is the school intranet. Specific risk assessments for vulnerable groups, such as pupils with severe asthma, are available. A short note on Firefly. This is our intranet, which will be made available to junior school parents imminently with a letter explaining how to access and use it coming soon. It's widely used in senior school and it's a useful portal for core information about the school, such as term dates and calendar dates. And we will be launching this to all junior school families within the next few weeks. More information to follow. With regards to sickness and absence procedures, please do not send your child to school if they feel unwell. Under normal circumstances, most of us send our children to school with a sniffle or a sore throat. Certainly, I have been guilty of doing that. Please help us all by keeping your child at home if there's any sign of illness. We all need to be vigilant for the signs of COVID-19. New or continuous cough, fever or high temperature, loss of or change in sense of smell or taste. Please self-isolate if symptomatic. Do not attend school. Follow the guidance on NHS Inform and Test and Protect. This includes rapid testing. Please inform the school of any positive test result. Other children will not be required to self-isolate unless contacted by the contact tracing service. The school will be following the advice of the HPS. If a school pupil becomes ill whilst in school with COVID symptoms during the school day, they will be isolated immediately and parents will be contacted. Our school nurse will manage the situation. After all of this procedural information, I would like to return to the most important aspect of the return to school, and that's looking after your child. We will absolutely prioritise well-being in the first few weeks. It's important that children are supported in class with any concerns or anxieties they may have, that the children come back together as a class and cope with the return to school. This is what matters most. Preparing our children for and supporting them with this new normal is of greatest importance, and giving them the space to talk together as a class with their peers around the world we currently live in without it being scary or unsurmountable, letting them ask questions and explore others' emotions about it all. All of this is what matters most. And to help you cope with the change too, you may notice a slight reduction in homework during this settling in period. We will also provide you with further information about individual year groups, which will be shared at the virtual Parents Information Evenings and in the first few weeks of term. Further information will follow. We teach our children across the whole school that when faced with a challenge, they should plan, do and review. Now that we have planned, we will of course review our plans constantly once we see them in practice, and we may well have to make adjustments, either because we identify improvements or because government advice changes. We will communicate any changes with you as quickly as possible. Ultimately, we are all in this together for the good of your children. We are a community, and it is our strength that will get us through this new phase in the current pandemic. We, as a school, are comforted that the success of our virtual school gives us the confidence that we will be well placed to continue teaching and learning in the event of any further sudden closure using Teams. However, as you can imagine, we really hope that will not happen. What I do hope, however, is that this presentation gives you some comfort in the knowledge that we're trying to think of everything and keep everyone safe upon return to school. Having watched this presentation, you may now have questions. Please forward any questions to my PA at juniorsecretary@st-columbus.org. I shall try to address any matters raised during the Parents Information Evening presentation that I will give, as well as the class teacher will give virtually during probably the first week in September. I look forward to meeting you all again from next Wednesday and Thursday. I hope everybody is staying well, and most importantly, I'm looking forward to seeing your children. Have a great week. Take care.